Hey, let's go. Welcome back to our show on this Wednesday night. Chilly in the Northeast as we continue our 2025 draft preparation by looking at the right side of the infield and preview the first and second base positions. But as we always do, we begin each show by asking you the question, where else would you rather be than right here? Boom! Right now. You are looking live at our split studios. This is Fantasy Baseball Now, episode 20 is upon us for our show, part of the Ball Night Knockout Podcast Network. El Jefe Chris Vitale, who, by the way, pocket dialed me last night at about 11:15. Thanks, Chris. With a combined 70 years, going on 72 of fantasy baseball experience, Mike and I are here to talk about some Major League Baseball with a fantasy spin. How are you, my friend, other than cold?
It's a little chilly, but nice and quiet, just like the hot stove right now. The hot stove is simmering. Clearly not a lot. Everybody's waiting for Sasaki. That's the big news.
Yeah.
He's down he's giving roses. He's been giving people roses for the last week. You get a rose, you get a rose, you get a rose. Jesus Christ.
Is Tampa Bay now just a pawn, or Toronto just a pawn for everybody to drive up a price? Is that a real thing?
So there's in the baseball Twitter world that we're all part of, Blue Jays dad, who's a spectacular guy and really the voice of that I follow for stuff that's going on in Toronto, was lamenting about the Vladdy trade rumors to the Mets. Too much smoke for it to not be real. And I'm like, what are they doing? Like, what? Sasaki's different because the money's the money. It's not like everybody's on an equal footing for the most part. You can, like, the Dodgers made a trade. Yankees got Anthony Banda today from the Dodgers for some international pool money, so they can use additional international pool money in trades to sign some of these guys. But he's not a free agent; he's a pool player, so he's not getting a massive contract. But how can they dangle these giant figures in front of the top free agents, and then they haven't done anything else?
Yeah.
They haven't done anything else. Like, they could have signed 4 other guys in Toronto while they were jerking around with Soto, who they weren't going to get, and Corbin Burns, who wasn't going to go there. He'd already made up his mind that if he got the right offer from Arizona, that's where he was going to go. They could have brought Teoscar back. They need him.
Maybe they're spending their money on hitting lessons for Bo Bichette.
Maybe they got him going to the HLP hitting studios so he can hit more like Aaron Judge and less like Scott Kingery. I don't know. I mean, maybe that's what's. I don't get it with the Blue Jays. I don't get it at all. Do I think they're pawns? I don't know. Maybe he sees the opportunity to be a bigger fish in a smaller pond there instead of being part of the many in LA or San Diego. But somebody made a great point, is that, like, these players from Asia want to play on the West Coast. It's closer to home.
Sure. Makes sense.
Not again, if the Yankees signed him, he turned into Hideki Arabu anyway, so it wouldn't have mattered. So I mean, I don't know. It's very interesting, but it's crazily quiet, especially on the Bregman and Alonso front. Jerks and Profar, that's a mystery to me. Kim, that's a mystery to me. Like, I don't know. I can't for the life of me figure out. There isn't even conversation about these guys. There isn't even rumored teams that they've met with. There's none of that. So that, like, we had a huge flurry of moves. Pitchers and catchers are 44 days, I think.
Oh, it's less than that. We're under 30.
We're under 30.
Yeah.
February 18. Yeah, we're in a month. I mean, so our team's waiting to see what they got. Some teams know what they got. Yeah. Some teams know what they have. I mean, it's not.
There's
a problem here. And legitimately need to fill some holes because they're already contenders, but they need to have some work to do. Some
I think
teams
hitters can wait it out a little bit. Pitchers are crazy. Look at last year.
Yeah.
Montgomery and Snow are the two. Montgomery never got going and Snow was late.
I mean, no trades, and I'm sure that's maybe that dialogue's going on. We'll talk about one of those guys that's in that dialogue when we talk about first baseman, and it affected where I ranked them.
Yeah. By the way, NFL picks at the end of the show. Uncle, by the way, throwing CJ Stroud memes at me after I picked the Chargers to beat the Texans, and he was
didn't
right.
go well.
No, and I enjoyed it because Justin Herbert is the most overrated player in the NFL, hands down. He looks the part until it's time to be the part, and he doesn't do it. He sucks, and I loved every minute of those 4 interceptions.
I went to the grocery store as an aside on Sunday wearing a New York Jets hoodie.
That's brave.
And some guy goes,
was it the same guy in Philly that accosted you as the poor Packer fan?
Not that asshole, no.
Okay. Banned.
The internet doing its thing. Not good.
Idiot.
Talk about being famous for 5 minutes and then being unemployed.
Did he get fired?
Yeah.
He was part of a company that promotes DEI.
Yeah, he's no longer much like Felix Unger, he was asked never to return.
Well, that happens. Hey.
So a guy goes, "You're wearing a Jet hoodie?" I go, "Look at me. I've got no stress. This is 13 years in a row. I got no stress.
Yeah.
I don't have to worry about the playoffs. I don't have to, lose sleep the night before a game. I don't have to, drink 300 beers before the game, get ready for it. I don't have to set myself up for heartache. I don't have to do any of that stuff. I don't have a dog in this race at all.
You don't have to worry about Gastineau hitting Kozar late.
Dude, I told you.
That's off the table.
When we wrapped up last week and I told you I'd watched the 30 for 30 on a sack exchange and they showed that.
Yeah.
I lost my mind again.
To
the point where my son's like, "Are you okay? Is everything okay?" I'm like, "No, it's not okay. It's not okay." Look, my mom kicked me out of the house because I threw a magazine at the television.
You had it coming.
I earned that one. She literally kicked me out of the house. I mean, I think it was under the guise of it's only a game, and I'm like,
no, that doesn't fly.
Do you have money bet on this game? I don't bet on the Jets. I don't bet on Jet games. I don't bet on the NFL anyway. I mean, I got invited into a pool. It was $100. Pick the winner versus the spread and pick over under, and the most right won the pool. No tiebreaker.
Yep.
So if it was a tie, it was split. There were 20 people in it. There was $2,000 in this pool. James ran it. Tess sends me her picks. I tell her what I like. I like. She goes, "Here's what I got," and I go, I gave her 8 different takes, and I was 1-7.
Good job.
I know. You can't like that's Chicago White Sox stuff. You can't nobody tries and loses like that. That was me trying and giving it thought, and I was 1-7. And the Chargers over, and the Chargers was one of them. I like the over and
Costanza. Just do the opposite.
It is Costanza stuff. So
yeah. All right.
So Bionic Bob has joined us with his new hip.
I
am hip. Former Nebraska star.
Great tailback. All right, first baseman. By the way, sad day in Nebraska world. I don't know if you know Jack Hoffman. I don't know if you remember spring game 2013. For those out there,
I saw that. I watched that again today.
Yeah, those out there have never seen it. As a young kid, he had cancer, and 2013, Bo Pelini put him on the field for the last play of the spring game, and he darted about 65 yards for a touchdown. It chokes me up every time I see it. And sadly, at the age of 19, he passed away today. So
it's a pretty good fight with brain cancer for
So Husker Nation is the Husker Go Big Red group. It's sad tonight. So
I saw that as one of the 100 greatest moments of the
Yeah.
stadium moments.
Yep. Yeah.
Today.
That was chilling. So anyway, let's get to some happy talk here.
Yeah, well, we'll see.
We'll
Well, it's
see.
going to be happy, but I got a feeling that Bionic Bob's not going to be when we do our first base rankings. And I'm going to let you go first because the top were pretty similar.
Top three, little jumble. Oh no, we're not. Top two.
Top two.
Top two.
Your Freddie Freeman disrespect is mind boggling to me.
Well, look, I understand you still have dreams about the guy, and not in a good way.
I wouldn't call it a dream.
Well, you're right. It was a reality. I'll get to him in a little bit. I'm going to start up top. You brought
so wait,
up
before we do this, let's make sure that we're clear about this because we got to deal with this dipshit on MLB Network, the Shredder, who disgraced himself with catcher rankings by not having Sal Perez. This is from a fantasy perspective only. This is not. We're not taking fielding metrics into play. We're not taking any of that stuff. We're talking. We're taking head to head and compiling stats. That's what we're doing. So our millions and millions of listeners, don't start giving me the how do you rank this guy? Christian Walker's a platinum glove defender. How can you have him that low? Because we're talking only about offense, and he's in Houston. So
fantasy baseball spin, as noted in the intro.
It is. It is. Mel Allen even brought that up.
So, yeah, look, I got Guerrero up top for everything he's got riding on this season. I think he's going to deliver. Right? He got it together last year. And the biggest thing with him is that I think is underrated, undervalued, is his batting average. Because as the T-shirt I bought from the ball9.com website store, batting average matters. And it's one of 5 categories in 5x5 leagues. That's why I like Guerrero. Bryce Harper is still a great player. I can see where you would have him up there at number 1. That's you pick your poison on that one. I think Matt Olson is more of the Matt Olson from 23 as he was 24. 4 homers last year. I think he settled in at 30. I think he'll go in the high 30s this year, maybe touch 40. I think the Braves were in a funk all year with all those injuries and losing players around him. So I'm going to give him a pass. And by the way, he is a Team Pugsley keeper heading into the year. I had to scan your list a couple times to find Pete Alonso. He's a great player. I was surprised you had him low. I don't know if that's out of spite because he hasn't taken Mr. Steinbrenner's money yet. The guy I love is Josh Naylor. Love him in Arizona. He was great in Cleveland last year. Actually, I almost moved him up to 4, which would have matched you. The guy I'm not a big fan of is my number 12 is Pasquantino. You got him at 5. Or 6. I'm very curious to see what you see that I don't. And I'll tell you the guy to look out for this year that I absolutely love, a later round steal, number 10, Jake Berger. He's got a lot of pop. He's going to play first in Texas. Josh Young's got third base locked up, I think. I love Berger in this spot. And Freddie Freeman, I'll get to him now. Again, it's fantasy baseball. It's not leadership. It's none of that stuff. I think he's just kind of ready for a regression. And I think it starts this year. Okay. He's still great, but he's not what he was 5 years ago. He's, I think, 33. So I think the regression starts a little bit.
That's all.
What's that?
He's only 33.
Yeah, it feels like he's been around forever. But yeah, that's why I have him ranked a little lower. I think in a fantasy sense, he's going to come back and come down that list a little bit at first base.
Look at it. He hit 331 last year with 29 homers and 102 RBI.
Pretty good.
And scored 131 runs.
Pretty good.
That's better than anybody I got ranked below him.
That's elite. All right. But again, I think you saw the best of him last year.
Maybe.
That's what you're basing on.
So my difference between Harper and Vladdy is my feeling, my intuition that Harper's power numbers will return now that he's a full year removed from surgery. I do not know if Vladdy is gonna. I don't know how Vladdy's going to react to what's going on with him. I don't have a read on it. Like, you think he's going to have a big, because I mean it is a huge year for him, right?
Yeah.
So it is. He's going to get 500 million one way or the other. I wanted to rank Naylor higher, and then I dug into, because we talked about him a lot last week with Uncle Ted, and we were all over him. And then I dug into Arizona ballpark stats, and it's a right-hand hitter's park.
Okay.
So I don't know if his power is going to be, how much better his power is going to be.
But is he the kind of guy that once he hits him, it's going to go out of most parks anyway?
He's a line drive hitter.
Okay.
So he's going to, I mean, he may end up with more doubles than he's ever had in his life. He's still going to drive in runs. He drives in runs.
runs.
He's always going to drive in runs. My problem with Tristan Casas, I would have ranked him higher. There's too much trade speculation with him. And if he goes to Seattle, I'm not even drafting him.
Yeah, that is a.
And I can't rank Alonso higher than 12th until I know where he plays.
Okay.
That's just it for me. If he was still on the Mets, he'd be 6th.
Okay. Oh, RCC and first time commenter, welcome to the show.
Yeah, so there's the Mets rumors. Like, do they want to give up Vientos for him? We'll find out pretty shortly. There's two sleepers that aren't on here. And why do I have Pasquantino 6th?
Yeah.
He was, before he got hurt last year, he was 290 with 20 homers and 80 RBIs. And then he tried to come back, and he wasn't the same when he came back. And I mean, he was trending to close to 30 homers and close to 110 RBIs, and he was hitting right around 280. And that's pretty damn good in that ballpark, in that lineup. It's Rocco. I should have known. I should have known we'd get the Met take from Mr. Met, Mrs. Met himself. Steer and Bellinger are interesting for me because they're multi-position eligible.
Yeah.
And I mean, Sal Perez could have been ranked on here too, because he has enough qualifying games. He has enough qualifying games to be ranked as a first baseman going in. And in fact, CBS has him ranked like in the top 12 at first base. I don't know if Encarnacion Strand is healthy. If Encarnacion Strand is healthy in Cincinnati, is Steer a great pickup until he's not position eligible, or will he end up with enough games at first base?
He plays everywhere. The reason I like him is stolen bases. First basemen don't usually steal. Sal Perez, by the way, as great as he is, I love him. He's my number one ranked catcher because he doesn't play exclusively catcher.
Right.
I don't know how those numbers translate given the other first baseman here. But the guy I want to talk about is Bellinger. Now, CBS, and look, projections, I don't put a whole lot of stock in them. I find them interesting to look at. CBS has him projected to recapture the MVP glory from the Dodgers in his first year with the Cubs. 33 homers, 97 RBIs, and 90 runs, hitting 285.
Well, that's ballpark effect for sure. That's 100% ballpark effect.
I don't think that's Cody Bellinger. I don't see that with him. I know he's in a good hitter's park. He's going to have a good lineup around him. he's
in 2023, it was 26 homers, 97 RBIs, and a 307 batting average.
okay. And then
He
what?
was injured.
19
He was
games
injured a
every year?
lot last. He was injured a lot last year, and I know that because I had him on my friggin' roster. I traded for him because I needed an outfielder at the time, and he immediately got hurt. And then he came back, and he immediately got hurt again. So he
I think
missed.
I'm the one that traded him to you.
Yeah,
You're
I mean,
welcome.
he played the same number of games in 24 as he did in 23, but he was not healthy. He was not healthy. He's in a better lineup. I don't know how much first base he's going to play
Yeah.
because Goldschmidt never gets hurt, and if Goldschmidt is 5% better than he was last year, he's going to be in the lineup. He's a better outfielder than he is a first baseman, though he's not a terrible first baseman. He's a better outfielder, and that's more of an area of need for the Yankees than first base is right now.
Yep.
Like you, I do like Jake. I do like Jake Berger. It'll be interesting with him in that lineup. If Seager, Simeon, and Garcia rebound to have the year that they had the year that they went to the World Series, and he's only counted on to just be part of that lineup, he's going to have a gigantic year. If those three don't bounce back and he's now counted on to do damage, I don't know. Playing in Texas on a team with expectation versus playing for the White Sox and the Marlins ain't the same thing.
Yeah.
So he's going to get drafted high. His average draft position is going to be higher than you would think, just simply because of the opportunity that he has there. I think Christian Walker, like I've got him 7, you've got him 8. I wanted to move him down.
No.
I don't think the Astros are going to be that good this year.
Yeah, he's
I
real.
think they're going to struggle offensively. I don't think that. I mean, if they re-sign Bregman, we'll see. But like, what's in that lineup now? They lost Tucker. They're losing Bregman. Jeremy Pena was a massive disappointment. I mean, Altuve's Altuve. Jordan's Jordan. But what other protection? Diaz. I mean, so that's 4 of 9. He's going to be counted on to provide a lion's share of productivity. He's never had to do that.
Yeah.
He's been a fit guy in Arizona, and his numbers have been terrific.
Yep.
But I mean, he's going to play every day, and he's better than anything they've had at first base in a long time there. So a long time. He's probably the best first baseman they've had since Bregman.
Let me ask you this. So you go into the draft, right? Where's the line on here? Now, just for context for people, we're in a 12-team league, which is why we have 12. We'll do more for outfield and pitchers, obviously. Where's the line here where you say, you know what? I can get any of these top X number of guys, and I'm good, where I feel good. Or where's that line on your list? I think for me, it's probably below. I love Steer. Probably below Steer, maybe 9. I could have any of the 9. I'm going to get Olsen.
Yeah, I mean, just for argument's sake, move Alonso to 5.
Okay.
Or to 6 on my list.
Yeah.
Well, for me, it's from 7 down. I could live with any of those guys.
Exactly.
Right? In our league, because it's a dynasty league, we're not going to have the opportunity to have Harper, Guerrero, Freeman, and Olsen. I'm not sure if Naylor's going to be available, and I'm not sure if Alonso's going to be available. So, like for us, we're talking about half of this list. And in most dynasty leagues, like in my National League only league, I know for a fact that Harper, Freeman, Olsen, and Walker are not going to be available for me in the draft.
Yeah.
I mean, Naylor's going to be new because he's new to the pool because he came from the American League, but Bellinger left, so that's kind of a replacement for Bellinger. So it's not, and Berger's out.
Yeah.
So like then we're like, so then for that league, like I am looking at guys like Michael Toglia in Colorado, or Bush in Chicago, or there's some sleepers. I mean, Spencer Horowitz will not be on that list of sleepers. That's for sure. Rhys Hoskins will be in play because there's a lot of Philly people here. So Rhys Hoskins had a good year last year.
Yeah.
But he only does two things, which is not, 2 of 5 is not terrible, but he homers and he drives in runs, but that's basically it. He doesn't add anything else. In fact, his batting average is so bad that it might actually be a detriment.
Yeah.
He might hurt you so much in batting average that 30 homers isn't as good a fit as a first baseman that might hit, like a Berger that might hit 24, 26, but might hit 260 doing
it. Welcome, Uncle Ted, from the cryogenic plant in Arizona, where his head is being stored.
Yep.
And Uncle Ted, I threw you some props already on the Texans and your CJ Stroud taunting meme you sent at me on Twitter today. So thank you, my friend.
Bryce Harper, round 1, pick 13 in his slow draft.
I could live with that.
Yeah. Open draft, Harper at 13. I could take that. I'd take that.
As we roll along, Uncle Ted, just that way, my 4 keepers right now in our league, 5-keeper league, 4 hitters, they're all left-handers. You're in my head on drafting left-handed pitchers only, but I would love to hear an explanation for that at some point before I go to the draft.
Because what he mentioned last week was like 80% of the pitchers are right-handed. So lefties are going to get the lion's share of at bats.
Yeah.
Like lefties are less lefties that produce are less likely to be platooned because they're going to get more. Because the platoon's 75-25, right?
Yep. Okay. All right. You ready to go to second base?
We can go to second base.
The one of the things I
gotta be careful how you say that, because you might end up in front of a Senate subcommittee trying to get approved for a job, and it'll come up.
I don't think I'm getting nominated for anything that responsible. I think I'm pretty safe there.
Yeah, you and me, but
had they had cell phone camera phones in college, I probably wouldn't even be allowed on this show.
Oh, I'd be.
So here's the thing with second base. All right, I have Altuve in our league, and I'm not keeping him. Here's why. The second base, I think, to me, Ketel Marte is head and shoulders above everybody. If you look at the stats, he's the guy. To me, he's the only real keeper on this list.
It's not even close.
It's not close. But his name doesn't carry the cachet that it should. I don't know why. Maybe it's because he's in Arizona and most of us are in the East Coast.
2 years ago, they wanted to trade him.
Yeah. But what I love about him is this position. This position is a good opportunity if your draft is rolling along and you need someone to steal some bases for you. Nico Horner is going to be there as you get later. There's guys that can really give you a good value and help you as the draft is rolling along, depending on how your team is shaping up. That's why this is such an intriguing position with, again, to me, only one real guy that would merit being kept.
Yeah, so intriguing is another word for weak, right, from a fantasy standpoint. And third base is going to be similar, where the top is the top, and then the rest is. I'm not going to be disappointed if I get anybody on this list. I won't be disappointed. Like all the way to 12. Like I can live with that guy.
Yeah. I was going to ask you about Bryson Stott.
If we did this last year, he would have been 6 or 7 last year.
Why isn't he now? I almost had him up at 7. I think Semien has gone off the cliff and needs a parachute. So
I think he's going to bounce back.
Okay.
I'll never have him on my team again, but I think he's going to bounce back.
How about Luis Garcia, Uncle Ted?
I love Luis Garcia.
Yeah.
I like Luis Garcia 100 times more than I like Terang. Terang is going to steal 50 bases, but he hit like 230 after May 1st last year.
Yeah.
Like he got off to an amazing start, and then he didn't hit for squat. He didn't hit for anything, but he steals a ton of bases. Renigfo's he's a multi-position guy too, so he's got added value. He has added value because he's going to be third base eligible and second base eligible. And he was having a good year before he got hurt last year.
Yeah.
Bogarts is an enigma to me. You know who neither of us ranked?
Who's that?
Jackson Holiday.
Yeah, he's on my next wave, and so he's going to get picked high, and especially in a dynasty league, he's going to get it based on his potential.
Yeah.
But how much are you going to invest in that potential? Because it's there. Okay. He's got the talent. He didn't do it last year. Maybe he just got his learning curve out of the way. But there's other guys that didn't make our list either. Louis Arise. If you need some batting average, there's your guy. He's not going to give you some other stuff.
Yeah.
But
Brandon Donovan, Uncle Ted just mentioned. Another multi-position guy is going to give you some power.
But
he may not be there. He's rumored to be on his way to New York as part of another. What if is Jazz Chisholm second base eligible, third base eligible, outfield eligible?
Like Zach Geloff, for example. Okay, he's been up for a year and a half. He's got some pop. He's got some potential. He didn't make my top 12,
right?
But if you're going through second base, you could find a guy like Geloff if you say you need a little more power out of that position. Well, he's a guy to look at. All right, Andre Jimenez.
What's Jonathan India look like in Kansas City?
I like Jonathan India in Kansas City, and that's
what about Matt McClain coming back from injury in Cincinnati? To your point, if we took Altuve and Marte and just said, all right, in every dynasty league they're going to be saved except for ours.
Albies too. Albies might.
You don't like short people, so Albies. I mean, we could debate Albies a lot. We can make a case for why he should be saved and make a case why we might have seen the best of Ozzie Albies. I mean, Westberg had a fantastic year last year.
I love Westberg.
I mean, he had a fantastic year last year. I mean, Brandon Lau, I don't know. I mean, is he even going to be there?
Yeah.
So is he even going to be in Tampa? So and if he's not in Tampa, he could be in a better situation. Is Nico Horner going to be with the Cubs? There's too many. There's a lot of guys on this list that are rumored to not be on their teams before the season starts, and it's going to change these rankings. But what doesn't change, depending, say they go to a similar situation where the skills that they have are the skills that they've demonstrated. If you get 20 homers and 20 stolen bases and 65 RBIs and 80 runs scored out of your second baseman, then Nico Horner is a great guy to have.
Yeah.
Right. But if he's 20 homers, 60 RBIs, 65 runs scored, and he goes to a team that doesn't run, then his value is not the same as. Like, I thought Stott was going to have a massive year last year. I really did, and he did not. He was disappointing last year. And he should have. There's really no pressure on him in that lineup to do anything, frankly, but show up and play a good play a good second base. They're like, what pressure is there on him? Like, he's projected for 10 homers, 50 RBIs, 60 runs, and 25 steals, and 272. It won't kill you.
No.
It won't kill you, but Luis Garcia, would I rather have Luis Garcia? Yeah, by a mile.
Absolutely. What about Glaber in Detroit? Now that he's got a chance to be a winner, be part of a winner World Series.
I think Glaber's going to have a good. I think Glaber's going to have a good year this year. Glaber had a good year last year. He's just Glaber Torres has the lowest baseball IQ of any professional baseball player I've ever seen. He's got the least baseball instinct of any pro player that's ever put a glove on. It's unbelievable to me, the boneheaded stuff that he does. And I think a fresh start is great for him because he was never going to meet the expectation that he was never going to live up to the hype, ever live up to the hype that was on him when he first came to the Yankees, ever.
Yep. I think, you know what I think I need? I think I need Uncle Ted to become my Tom Brady to Mark Davis.
Jesus.
And wire him in at the draft. You know, there's a guy on this list. I want to go back to him. You mentioned him. And I don't even know why he's on my list. I should have just put him down at the bottom because there's another 6 guys I'd pick over him. Is Bogarts. He's going to be okay, right? He'll score some runs, give you some homers.
He'll be fine.
Maybe steal. But he's not going to win you a league. He's not going to be a difference maker.
His project, I mean, I don't know why I have him as high as 8. He should be right next to Stock because their stats are projected exactly the same.
Yeah.
I mean, like if push came to shove and I had to reach for a second baseman, I would take Jonathan India before I took Bogarts. Like I go off the board. If this board was filled up and I had not taken a second baseman and the last guy left was Bogarts for me to take, I would not take him. I'd go off the board. Like I'd go off the board. I'd think about Pedro Estrada in Colorado before I thought about Bogarts because at least he's going to get a ballpark effect.
Yeah, honestly, I think the more I look at my list, I don't know. My list isn't going to look like that on draft day, and Bogarts probably isn't going to be part of it. There's just he's not. I don't know what the right way to phrase it is. Maybe it's just he's not going to do anything that's going to help you win a league. He's not going to steal a ton of bases to make it to separate him.
Not anymore.
From the other second baseman.
And he's not 100 years old.
No,
I mean he's closer to 30 than he is to 40, and he just, I don't know, something about that team. There's something about that team. I don't know what it is. I don't know. I can't I haven't got the faintest idea what it is. There's something about that team that they should be so much better than they are.
Yeah.
And they were fine last year, but they never seem like they're on the same page together.
Well, maybe that's it.
No matter how hard Manny Machado tries to make that happen.
Yeah. The leader of men. Or an asshole. Yeah.
Yeah, he's one or the other.
Point you look at.
But Tatis is a distraction, despite his talent. They tinker with that line. They tinker with that roster more than any team in baseball. I mean, I don't get it. It's just and they played meaningful games last year, and he wasn't great in meaningful games. And I think that's part of. That's also part of this, right? So, like La wasn't in any real meaningful games last year. He still produced.
Yeah.
So he's Uncle Ted. Uncle Ted is in the middle of a draft right now.
Good for him.
And he is through 10 rounds. And he's all lefties. He's all lefties so far. Holy cow.
That's a pretty good lineup he's got going there.
It's a pretty good lineup.
Yeah. That's why I want to make him my Tom Brady. Come in and draft me some talent while I drink beer. Seems like a fair trade-off.
That is a fair trade-off. That's a fair trade-off. We'd have to mail him in advance box of food from Leo's so he could experience
the heartburn and indigestion that comes with all that good food.
yeah.
Worth it. It's worth it. So
It
is there a guy other than Bogarts where if you wake up, sleep it off, wake up Sunday morning after the draft and you say, "Oh my God, I got to go find a second baseman today." Who is it?
It's probably Horner.
The home runs are just. I love his steals, good batting average. The home runs are a killer. They're a killer.
It's probably Horner. The guy that if I slept it off on Sunday and woke up and I had on my roster, it would be Renigfo, and I'd be like, damn, I can't believe I drafted that guy. Good for me.
I would say I can't believe I drafted an Angel because I don't draft them because most of their players don't have talent.
I mean, no. Well, he's going to get to play at least someplace because third base is always open there.
Yeah, and you can't bench everybody after Trout gets hurt, so they need somebody.
But then you got Tony Wage Theft at third base, so that's
yeah.
So that position's always open. Trout's going to get hurt.
He's the Joel Embiid of load management for Major League Baseball.
Oh my God! Nobody's stolen more money from an organization ever.
Yeah, and flat out admitted it. Yeah. I have a family. I have spent family time. Yeah. Okay. All right. Next week, we're going to continue. We're going to go to the left side of the infield, shortstop and third base. Anything else on second baseman?
No, I think it's, it's an interesting position because in leagues, in deeper roster leagues where you have a middle infielder, you're looking at, you might be looking at two of these guys or two shortstops. I mean, you're definitely looking at that. Shortstop name seems to have more cachet than second base name. There's a lot of fit guys. Like there's not a lot of superstar power on the second base rankings, but there's a lot of production.
Okay. NFL picks. Hey, before the NFL picks, let me ask you, where are the Jets at? Who's going to be the new coach of your team that has to make Woody Johnson's kids happy?
Well, we've just requested interviews with another 11 guys, so I feel like they're just fucking around. I want Aaron Glenn in the worst way. That's the guy I want. I want Aaron Glenn to be the next head coach. I'll die on that hill. I want somebody that's worn the uniform. If he wants to steal Josh McCown as his OC from Minnesota, I'm okay with that. But I want Aaron Glenn. I want somebody that he's going to be closer to Dan Campbell than he will be to Robert Saleh, who's getting an interview in Dallas, by the way.
He interviewed in Vegas too.
Yeah, he interviewed in Jacksonville, he interviewed in Vegas, he's interviewing in Dallas.
He'll get a DC job somewhere.
I mean, I don't want Brian Flores, only because the last time we hired a guy that coached the Dolphins, it was Adam Gase. I certainly don't want Arthur Smith. That's Adam Gase 2.0.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want a guy that's been a head coach that's been that didn't win. What's the point? I'd rather have Mike McCarthy than any of them. Mike McCarthy would probably keep Rodgers playing one more year. But it sounds like the Bears and the Saints are going full speed after McCarthy.
Yep.
And Glenn's the fallback in New Orleans where he was on the staff. I want a guy that's he's worn that uniform and he knows what's expected in that market as an elite player, and he's been part of a team that's built a full culture, and he was part of building that culture. And I don't think he's going to take any crap. I think he's a strong enough personality that he won't take any crap. And he had a great comment today. About, like, yeah, I coach the defense, but I'm a football coach. I know just as much about the offense.
And
Who the
Uncle Ted,
Raiders going to hire? That's the question of the day.
well, the funny part, Uncle Ted brought up Dion, and yeah, Dion and Jerry Jones. Let's just will that into existence. I heard during the week Dion has showed strong interest in the Raider job, and it quickly came out that the Raiders had no interest back. Brady's not going to hire Dion.
No.
What I've heard is that it is Ben Johnson, that he really likes the idea of working with Brady. And one scenario I read yesterday was, I don't know if people remember when Hendon Hooker was at Tennessee before he tore his knee up his last year when they were top 10 team. He was a Heisman mentioned in the Heisman talk early in the year, maybe the first month before he hurt his knee. Detroit drafted him that next year, and he hasn't played a whole lot. But my God, Ben Johnson, Hendon Hooker, a BJ and a Hooker heading to Vegas. What could go wrong? What could go wrong? It's too perfect. The script writes itself.
It is too perfect. I was very surprised they let Telesco go.
I was too. What I think happened,
he had a great draft. Maybe that's why he fucked up the organization by bringing talent in.
He did have a good draft. What I think happened was they let Pierce go, and Telesco and Brady sat down and had a conversation about vision, and it just didn't match up. Or Brady kind of knew all along who he wants to hire as his coach, and it might not have been a good fit with Telesco as GM. And sometimes you're just better off wiping the slate clean and getting a pair that wants to that can mesh together a little bit. I've heard Spytek, I think John Spytek from Tampa Bay. Brady's very familiar with him. He's very highly regarded, and a guy from Green Bay, I can't remember his name, make him in as GM. But I want Ben Johnson as coach. Why not? You know what? And this is crazy. I would take Pete Carroll. He interviewed, I think, today.
Yeah.
Because he wins. He wins. Other than New York City, he wins games.
Other than New York City.
Sorry. Yeah. I like you. If I'm going to get a retread, I want one that's had some success.
Right.
Not some idiot like Josh McDaniel. Well, he learned from his time in Denver. Well,
no, he didn't.
No, he didn't. And two, how do you know that?
He didn't.
He didn't learn.
So now he's 0 for 2. It's like Vance Joseph interviewing with Vance Joseph's getting interviews. Like, what? Really?
He shouldn't. He interviewed the Raiders interviewed him.
Anthony Lynn's name gets floated around. Really?
Some guys are great coordinators. They're just not great.
At least Brian Flores had success as a coach. He didn't have success as a people person. He wasn't a terrible head coach. He just became too full of himself, and that's what he needed to learn. If he learns the people part, he wasn't a terrible head coach. Vance Joseph was a bad head coach.
Terrible.
Right? That'd be like interviewing Nathaniel Hackett. He was a terrible head coach.
Yes.
So why do it again? Arthur Smith was a terrible head coach. Arthur Smith regressed the Atlanta Falcons. How? How is it possible?
Good point.
Look at what Bijan Robinson and Drake London and Kyle Pitts did this year, 1 year removed from Arthur Smith. They all looked like the players that they drafted. None of them did when he had them. He like, what are you doing, dude? So I don't know. I want him to hire somebody soon. I'm sick of talking about it.
Yeah.
I'm sick of dealing with it. I'm hoping that the NFL steps in as Brady becomes incredibly involved in this process in Vegas and says, we're never going to be able to have you be an announcer, and we all win, and he has to leave, and we get Greg Olsen and we get Greg Olsen back on that number one crew, because we're going to have to listen to Brady again this week, and he's
got the Detroit game too.
He's very bad at this.
I've never, honestly, I hate the man. He's a fumbler. He always will be. But quite frankly, he's the face of my franchise now, so I have to like him a little bit. He's a little too smug and arrogant for me. But you know what? If he helps the Raiders win, I don't care. But yeah, but it's such a conflict of interest. Like, he interviewed Ben Johnson for his head coaching position, and now he's going to be around him covering the game. That's just not right.
Send in the golden boy.
Is that Hooker? Hendon Hooker? Yes.
That is the golden boy.
Yeah. All right, let's get to the picks. We're very similar with our picks this week, but This should be a great weekend of football. You can go first, my friend.
This is always the best week of football.
Yeah.
I think this is always the best week. Last week was a lot of duds. One good game, and the rest of them were not. The rest of them were not great. So I am mostly chalk. I mean, I would like to see the Rams get the Eagles out of my line of sight for a little bit, and they ran all over them the first time. I don't think that's going to change. It might snow on Sunday. Who the heck knows? I think Detroit Washington is going to be a good game, but I think in the end, Detroit's just got too much firepower on offense. I could look at this Texans game, Kansas City game 800,000 times. Unless Kansas City turns the ball over 11 times, I can't make a case for the Texans winning.
Yeah.
I think the Ravens are going to beat the Bills, and I think it's going to come down to which quarterback makes like that magic play. And the way Lamar played last week, holy mackerel, they're terrifying. They are terrifying.
They are. They finally figured out how to use Lamar with Derrick Henry. And you look at, I want to take a shot at the NFL here, which is a sport that has completely devalued the running back position. You look at where Tennessee, the Giants, and the Raiders ended up this year, all in the top 6 of the draft, because they thought the running back wasn't worth spending money on. Derrick Henry, Saquon Barkley, and Josh Jacobs, who was a beast for Green Bay down the stretch. So there you go, right? Saquon could have set the all-time record.
Yep.
Henry just keeps getting better, and Jacobs, to me, Jacobs was you can make the case he was as good this year as he was when he led the NFL in rushing.
He was very good this year
with the Raiders a couple of years ago. That said, the problem I have with I felt the Rams down the stretch were unbelievably good.
Yeah.
Up the defense. I don't see them going into Philly because they have been scorching, and Hurts has got an extra week in him now coming off that concussion. I saw on CBS Sports, they got guys picking Washington over Detroit. I love Jaden Daniels. I love him. Love watching him.
Yeah.
It's too tall of a are they going to be able to slow down that Lion offense? I don't think so.
I don't know. I think the only way the Lions lose is if they get outscored.
They're going to have
they score at will.
Yeah. And Montgomery's back at full practice.
And Montgomery's back.
So
they really missed him. They really missed him against Minnesota when Gibbs went insane.
The thing about that game is so much more has to go right for Washington than it does Detroit to win that game.
But if it's close in the fourth quarter, if it's close in the fourth quarter, Washington they have 7 wins.
Yeah.
On the last play of the game.
They have a way. Daniels has a way. I was talking to the big man in Massachusetts over the weekend. Tampa Bay doesn't move the needle for me at all. It was a night game. I still see it, but I want to watch Jaden Daniels play because I loved him. I loved him coming in this year.
Yeah,
thought he'd be rookie of the year, and he's going to be, and he is fun to watch, and you can never count them out when he's on the field. You can't.
No.
Can't.
No, he makes play. He doesn't make mistakes, which is it's kind of Stroud. He's very similar to Stroud coming in. Same conversations, right? You got this draft, and everybody was, I mean, I said in the national championship game that if I'm picking first this year, I'm taking Stroud because he makes every single throw, and he was exactly that. And
Uncle Ted, I hope so. That's
how these Dallas people picking Houston teams. What is up with
hates
that?
The Texans, he told us. Here's the thing with that game, right? Justin Herbert.
He clearly hates the Chiefs more.
Mahomes, so do I. Mahomes isn't going to throw 4 balls away like Herbert did. The Chargers should have had that game won at halftime, right?
Oh yeah, they looked like they were going to blow them out in the first quarter.
The thing about what Uncle Ted just wrote is the only glimmer of hope I see for this. If you haven't seen it, the Kansas City offensive line sucks. They're terrible. They could get called for holding on almost every play when they're not committing false starts.
Yeah, this is
It's a bad offensive line. But they are going to have to send the house and get after him and disrupt him.
It's interesting because this tackles for the Chiefs are awful.
They're terrible.
And Houston rushes off the edge as well as any team in football. The interior offensive line for the Texans is the worst in the NFL. The worst. Every statistical measure. They give up more pressures than any team in football. And Kansas City has Chris Jones in the middle of the line. Yeah. So both these quarterbacks could be running around like lunatics all day. The back to the Washington-Detroit game, the two coaches that go for it more on fourth down than any coaches in football. Dan Quinn goes for it more than Dan Quinn was 25 for 28 on fourth down this year.
Wow.
And when they converted a fourth down, they scored 171 points.
Wow.
I heard that today. Now, what?
The other one, the best game of the weekend, best matchup at least going in. I picked Baltimore to win the Super Bowl at the start of the year. I picked Buffalo to win the Super Bowl at the start of the playoffs. The Ravens that I saw are favored by a point at Buffalo, which I don't get. And I know, look, Baltimore took Buffalo to the house in week 4. That was a long time ago. It doesn't matter. That doesn't mean a thing now. My problem with taking Baltimore is
no Matt Milano in that game.
Lamar Jackson has a long history of just disappearing in the biggest playoff moments. And he hasn't earned the trust. And beating Pittsburgh doesn't do it.
No.
Doesn't do it. He's got to win Super Bowl. Right? And I don't see it. And I think Buffalo's just got that thing going this year. When they got rid of their whole wide receiver room last year, replaced it with Keon Coleman as a draft pick from Florida State. And they're still awesome. They picked up Mac Hollins. They traded for Amari Cooper. Yeah. That just, to me, shows you just how good Josh Allen really is. He didn't need Stephon Diggs.
No, he didn't. Actually, having Stephon Diggs actually hurt their offense.
Yeah.
Joe Brady's better when he's got 5 options and not have to worry about one getting fed or he's going to pout.
Yeah. So I like Buffalo at home. It's going to be very, very cold. I know Baltimore's from a cold weather town. But I don't think Baltimore and Buffalo are the same. I just like the Bills at home. I think that's going to be a classic game. I'm glad they saved it for 6:30 on Sunday. To me, that could be the best matchup of the whole playoffs.
It would be better if it was snowing.
I've heard snow is in the forecast as well.
It would be so much better. Snow for Saturday. Sunday's just going to be colder than crap.
Yep.
This could be a Ravens blowout. If it's a close game, I think the Bills are going to win. Neither kicker is great, which is hard to believe saying that when one of them arguably the best kicker ever.
Sure.
I mean, so like you got to make a kick and 1 to 3 inches on Saturday into Sunday. I mean, 20-mile-an-hour winds, 20 degrees. So game time it'll be in the teens. The Ravens don't care about that. Actually, who should care about that? The secondary for those poor bastards in the secondary for Buffalo when they got to tackle Travis Henry when he gets to the second level and he's got a full head of steam. He's insane. I mean, he's insane.
Hey, one more prediction since I don't know when we're recording next week. I know you hate Notre Dame. I don't. It's Ohio State. Here's the thing that bothers me with the NFL since we're talking about them. You're reading Jack Sawyer from Ohio State's got like a 2nd-round grade on him in the draft. That dude's a beast. He's going to be a 12-year veteran and a menace in the inside of somebody's linebacking core. Why he was not projected to be a first-rounder, I don't get. I don't care about peripherals. Show me the guy's game tape.
He just makes plays. All he does is make plays. He makes plays all the time. He just makes plays. That's all the guy does. That's all he's ever done since he's been there. He's gotten the least hype of anybody that's ever played on that defense, and he's made more plays than any of them.
But for me, I think the Irish are going to play well and acquit themselves. Ohio State's just better. The best team NIL money can buy. They'll cover. I don't know what the line is.
The $31 million is going to pay off in this game.
I don't know what the line is, but I'm thinking like 28-13, 28-17, something like that for OSU.
Yeah.
And that pains me to say because I hate them, but they're the best team.
Yeah, I'm torn because I don't want Ryan Day to have any success, but I hate the Irish so much.
It's a tough one.
I wanted to be happy that Penn State lost, and I couldn't be. And I don't know. I hope it's a entertaining game.
Yeah. Yeah, like Ohio State played Texas. That to me is like
Alabama, Notre Dame all over again. Though part of me hopes it is.
Yeah, like Ohio State and Texas, great marquee matchup. I was at a high school basketball game covering it for the newspaper, and I couldn't have been happier because that's like telling me I got to watch the Chiefs and Broncos play. No thanks. No thanks. No interest.
That was a good football game, though.
Yeah.
That was a really good game. That might end up being the best game of the entire playoff. But
we'll see. The Irish are sneaky tough. They're sneaky tough. They could hang in.
They're extremely well coached.
Yeah, they are.
He's a tremendous football coach. Tremendous football coach. If he didn't just sign a 3-year deal, a 3-year extension, he would be talked about as he'll soon be the next big thing.
Well, he said the Bears want to talk to him.
Yeah, he doesn't want to.
Uncle Ted is not an Ohio State fan.
Well, they just beat Texas, so of course he's not. Of course he's not. You know that. Bionic Hip Bob is our resident Notre Dame fan. I'm sure Rocco's a Notre Dame fan because he's a Met fan, so that seems to go hand in hand. Teams that won something once. The hypocrisy of both these teams makes me want to throw up in my mouth. The highest NIL team versus a team that can't recruit a quarterback, so they got to go poach one from somebody else's roster every year.
But Rudy Rudiger, Wake Up the Echoes.
Wake Up the Echoes.
Rock.
Never seen that movie.
You've never seen that movie?
No, sir. No, it's on my. It's Fenway Park, Top Gun, and Rudy. Three things I'll never see.
Top Gun. All right. Well, we'll have a movie marathon at the draft this year.
I don't get caught up in the hype, dude.
All right. So my guess is next week I may have another high school basketball game to cover on Tuesday. You got national championship Monday. Maybe next Wednesday, 8:30.
Sounds like next Wednesday at 8:30 we'll be back with shortstops and third basemen. I'm sure we'll have. We'll see which one of the two of us has the courage to rank Anthony Rendon in our top 12 third baseman.
That's not happening.
How about that? How about that?
And by the way, until the copyright police come after us, I'm playing this music.
I feel like I should be seeing the parrot from Three Rivers Stadium running around right now.
Yeah. A little slow-mo of Kent Tekulve throwing a pitch. All right.
With the Stars and Stripes hat, one of the greatest hats in the history of baseball.
All right, so with that, we are out. Uncle Ted, good luck to the Irish. I don't know if you're Notre Dame fan, you take Ohio State. All right, enjoy.
Good luck with your draft, Ted.
Get her done.
Take some pictures, Christ.